life-threatening weather event is causing widespread flooding across New South Wales. Warnings are in place for northern parts of the state. Residents are being told to limit travel. Our reporters are monitoring conditions on the Central Coast as well as in Sydney. Let's begin with Charlotte Mortlock in Davistown. And Charlotte, you're in one of the worst affected regions. What's the situation at the moment?
Yeah, well, we know that the SES received a number of phone calls from this area across the Central Coast last night, a lot of those around Gosford. And we have been speaking with a number of residents who have really had their work cut out for them this morning. A lot of people are starting to sandbag now. We know that while they received a deluge yesterday, they are expecting more later today and then again tomorrow. We spoke to one resident earlier, Frankie, who unfortunately yesterday afternoon saw a massive tree falling through the living room of his apartment.
Yeah, I stayed in my room last night because that was high and dry in there. But as you can see, it's a disaster zone. It really is. And that tree, if it was any more force or any heavier, or it's like sometimes, you know what I mean, you just can't explain something.
So Frankie was there in Kincumber. Down the road in Wamberal, we spoke to a man called Richard. Now, he came out last night after hearing a car crash on his street. That was during some quite heavy rainfall, but he came out to discover a tree had fallen on his own car.
There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of rain, a lot of lightning. I actually came out because there's a car accident. We had a car spin out and hit the fence across the road. And I walked out to the tree and the car behind me, and that was pretty well it. So
one of the big concerns here across the Central Coast is we might actually see some of the water starting to rise in these areas, and because of that, residents around here have been sandbagging. We know that Gosford to 9 a.m. this morning recorded just around 90 millimetres in the gauge. Now, that's their heaviest rainfall since October last year. We also know that Lake Macquarie received around 105 millimetres to 9 a.m. this morning. Now, that's their heaviest since July last year. That's not an exceptionally long amount of time, but this is all because we have this La Nina weather pattern. We've had an extremely wet summer across Australia, and particularly for residents in New South Wales. It's put a smile on farmers' faces, giving them a bumper crop for many, but of course it is causing havoc today. We know that there have been some major issues across the state with flash flooding occurring. The New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian asking everyone to be cautious, particularly on the roads.
Please know that this weekend is going to be quite severe in terms of weather conditions, and we don't want to see any lives lost because of that. Please follow the warnings, please stay home where you can, and don't go travelling around on the roads. So use your vouchers from next week when the weather's better.
We've got very strong, moist easterly bringing in across New South Wales a lot of this wet weather. That teamed with a coastal trough is what is producing this weather event. We know that it is going to be really a massive part of the state that it will be affected, right from Yamba in the north of New South Wales down to Gosford, here where I am in the Central Coast. Now, it is going to ramp up this afternoon. We are expecting to see some areas getting hundreds of millimetres of rainfall. That could be extremely dangerous, considering that they've already been soaked over the past 24 hours.
Charlotte, thank you. Kenny Heatley is live in Sydney for us. Meanwhile, Kenny, the SES has already carried out flood rescues this morning.
Hi, Tom, that's right. Yes, the SES have performed 13 flood rescues up to 9:30 this morning, including 3 in Western Sydney. A family of 4 in a Mazda all-wheel drive underestimated the flooding over this road in Schofields, got stuck and had to be pulled from the water.
Water level was like here. My wife was like very quick. She just opened the doors. We had the kids, so we just rescued him and leave the car in the water. And then the fire brigade and emergency services came in and they helped us really well.
In the 24 hours up to 9 a.m. this morning, Sydney CBD picked up 54 millimetres, the heaviest rain since July last year. This morning, since we've been here, it hasn't actually been too wet. We've had some drizzle on and off, and this is a good indication of how quickly waters can go down if the rain does ease. When we got here this morning, that flood marker was up to 1 metre. Now it's down to basically 0.3, so dropping 70 centimetres in just a few hours. But the system is going to be peaking in Sydney tomorrow. Our Chief Meteorologist Tom Saunders is predicting Sydney Basin could get 200 millimetres tomorrow, which is likely to cause more road issues. And we've got minor flood watches in place for Sydney rivers like the Georges River and Warragamba Dam. 98%. It's expected to spill this weekend and could cause some further minor flooding along the Nepean River. But certainly in terms of river flooding, the greatest threat is further towards the north. Major flood peaks are possible in the Bellingen and Kalang rivers on the mid-north coast, and also the same around the Patterson and Williams River around the Hunter, and that is the focus today. There's also the threat, Tom, of hazardous surf conditions. Stay out of the water over the next couple of days. That hazardous surf, it's big and it's dangerous and it's moving down the coastline too. Just like the Premier, the SES is warning people to just limit travel over the next couple of days.
We have seen quite a bit of flash flooding. Flash flooding always has the potential to be life-threatening. So, really, we're urging people to be very cautious over the next few days, limit their travel where need be, and really be aware of their surroundings.
Tom, the rain is fairly light now, but it could pick up late afternoon. There was a lot of chaos across the public transport system in Sydney early this morning. We had some lines down onto train lines and things like that. If the rain picks up this afternoon, it could be a similar thing, but definitely tomorrow is the peak day for Sydney.